Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and welcome once again to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm your weekly host, Brother James Muhammad, and I'm honored to have on the show this afternoon the sisters from the Nation of Islam, GCC, MGT class. Good afternoon, sisters.
Good afternoon.
And we're honored to have you on the show, Sister Tamiko and Sister Rose. First of all, we'd like to thank you for coming and sharing some of the knowledge of the Nation of Islam as it relates to the woman on the Self-Improvement Show. For those who are not quite familiar with the Nation of Islam and the women of the nation, what does MGT-GCC represent and mean?
Okay. Well, first of all, Brother James, I would like to thank you for this opportunity for coming on to the show. It is an honor. MGT and GCC is the name that is given to the women training in the Nation of Islam. It is the name for the women in our class. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we must be completely re-educated. We are not fit for self. What does that mean for us? When we look at the word fit, when we define the word fit, what does it mean? It means becoming, it means appropriate, to be prepared, to be ready. And when we think about self, self means nature. And when we think about our sisters, we are acting other than ourselves. We are not becoming. We are not ready, and we are not prepared. And we are acting out of our nature, so we're acting other than ourselves. So when we decide that we're going to accept this teaching and accept ourselves, and we submit to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we submit ourselves to this training. And in this training, we basically start all over. From the beginning, Brother James, we learn, we learn how to walk, we learn how to talk, stand, sit, everything. But these classes are broken down into 7 units, and that is how to keep house, how to raise your children, how to take care of your husband, sew, cook, and how to act out on abroad.
Oh, okay. Well, now, the modern day woman, as we should call her, might say, well, I know how to take care of my children. I know how to take care of my husband. I know how to clean my house. What makes what you're doing different than what the women of this present world is doing?
Well, Brother James.
And first of all, let me cut you off. When you said myself, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that ourself is a righteous Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being a righteous Muslim and being a woman, how do you define that?
Being a righteous Muslim and being ourselves. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we are by nature, our nature is to submit our will to do the will of Allah, which is being a Muslim.
Okay.
As it pertains to the woman, we can look at society today and we can see that our sisters are doing it for themselves. They're working, they're going to school, they have degrees, they have an education, they have their families, they have just about everything that they want. But when we reflect on our condition, we have to wonder what really happened at the root. And in the Bible, it teaches us that the male, it says that to kill the male and spare the female. And we're actually living in a society that is upholding that principle. Okay. So the male his role has been stripped from him and actually given to the female in our sense. So even though it may seem like she's independent, even though she's doing an excellent job in providing for her family and taking care of herself, there are some accomplishments that we have been robbed of, in a sense. And those basic accomplishments are the basic fundamental tools that the woman needs in order to have a family, in order to take care of the children. And those basic fundamentals are absent in the society of the woman. So these training units are necessary for us to add to the accomplishments that we already have with our degrees and with the wonderful education that has been added to us. But the foundation is missing. The foundation is missing, and we can see that when we look at our children and what the community reflects.
Oh, okay, thank you, sister. Sister Rose?
Yes, sir.
Now, as I listen to you, sound like what you're saying that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan is defining the role of the woman based on criteria set up by God and standard by God, not this world. But that might conflict with this world, right?
Sorry.
So, and you said something very interesting. That when you look at the community, then we can tell something is wrong. Sister Rose, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that 75% of his work is with the woman. Am I quoting that right?
Yes.
What does that mean when he says 75% of his work or his teaching is dealing with the woman? Why is the woman so important and that aspect of the teaching so important?
The woman is very important in building a nation. For one, the mother is the child's first teacher. So we're taught that when you teach the man or a male, you teach an individual. But when you're teaching a woman, you're teaching a nation. She's giving birth to the nation. So the woman is that child's first teacher. Everything that child, the main thing the child learns in the first year, most of that comes from the mother. You know, so a woman, her job is very important in the home, outside the home, how she rears her children, how she looks in a society. A nation can rise no higher than its woman is what we're taught. So just being at home with a child, you know, teaching the child from point A to point B is very important because you are actually building a nation. You're teaching your child, you're teaching a nation, not just a child as an individual.
So when I look at the community and I see foolish men, I see foolish children, would it be an insult to say that means there's a foolish woman around somewhere, or is there a no good man around somewhere? If the woman is the first teacher, if I want a new man, is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Minister Farrakhan is saying that to make a new man, I have to start off making a new woman first?
Yes, sir, definitely. There's a saying, fathers maybe, what is that? Fathers maybe, mother's baby. I think that's the saying. But the Bible teaches us that the fruit does not fall far from the tree. So we may be able to say, well, wow, this society is so bad. This society is full of crime. This society is full of all of these bad things. Wow, how did this happen? It would be appropriate, however, it may be a little sad to say, okay, well, look at the women. You know, what is the mindset of the women? Because these children are coming from these women. You know, we have a society, okay, yes, we have rapists. Yes, we have robbers. Yes, we have just petty thieves. Yes, we have a community of criminals. But this community of criminals have a mother. So we have to be able to reflect on that and be mature enough to accept our responsibility.
Okay. So what I'm getting is that the woman's role is so valuable and so important to society. But we do have to give it balance. Honorable Elijah Muhammad also stated where there's no such thing as a no good woman unless you find a no good man who made her that way. Being that we are the maintainers. So if we do what we're supposed to do, a woman can do what she's supposed to do. You said earlier that the woman is just about stepped out of her role and doing the role of the man. She's the protector, she's the provider.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting, you get up in the morning, you go to school, and you see a woman standing on a bus stop, she have 2 children. I tell you, there's a man, she's standing in the hot sun, she catch the bus to the daycare, drop them off, get back on the bus, and then go to work, and then get back on the bus and go pick the children up. You know, that's the norm in our society. When you're at school and you need to talk to a parent, the odds are a mother is going to come up there to the school. There's no father. And we can look at the community and see the imbalance in the family because the father is missing. So the woman's role is so valuable, so important, even when the father's not there. It is her to teach that son or that daughter their role, but she can't teach them unless she know, right? And that's where the MGT come in. Now, when we look at Memphis as a whole, we have a problem here. Infant mortality. Statistics tells us that our infant mortality rate is worse than some third world countries, which is a shame. 85% African American community. Let me read something to you. In 1990, about 20 black babies died for every 1,000 born in Shelby County. Interesting. Premature birth and low birth weight, are by far the biggest cause of infant death. Now, when you look at our community, just the other day, or a few months ago, we saw in the news where almost 90 young ladies pregnant in one school. Now, okay, they're pregnant. Based on how they bring that child into existence, that child can be a problem to the community or a healer in the community. What is the first thing a woman must do when she realizes she's pregnant? The first thing.
The first thing that a woman should do, she should pray. She should pray. Most of our expectant mothers may have a prayer like, "Oh my God, I hope I'm not pregnant."
Oh, okay. That's interesting that you said that.
However,
that's not a good thought either.
It's really not. However, that's just the reality, that we live in. And she should pray. The second thing, she should become a student. She should be studying. She should be reading. She should be found obtaining information that's going to help her to be a good mother, information that's going to help her to understand her nature, help her to understand herself, preferably the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self. But when we think about an expectant mother, is she going to say the right prayer other than, "Oh my God, please don't let me be pregnant"? What kind of prayer is she going to say? And it really first starts off if she even wants to pray, or if she wants to give herself to God. Because when a woman is going to pray, she plans to give her child over to the service of God. But does she really want to give herself over to the service of God? And if she does give herself over or give the child to the service of God, what kind of child is that going to be? What kind of diet does the mother have? Is she smoking 3 packs of cigarettes when she's pregnant? Is she drinking, while she's pregnant? And it really depends on the orientation, the mindset of the mother, and if she's willing to do that. And our instructions as MGT, we're taught that when we become with child and when we are expecting, we are to say a prayer. And that prayer is in the Holy Quran. And it is in Surah, can I read it?
Sure. Yes, sister. And feel free to jump in anytime, Sister Rose.
It's in Surah 3, verse 35.
Now, for those who are not quite familiar with the Holy Quran, it is the book of the Muslim. And our sister's going to read from the Holy Quran.
All right, this is Surah 3, verse 35. It says, "So when she brought it forth, she said, 'My Lord, I have brought it forth a female.' And Allah knew best what she brought forth. And the male is not like the female. And I have named it Mary. And I commend her and her offspring into thy protection from the accursed devil." But the instructions that we have and the prayer that we have to say is verse 34. When the woman of Amram said, "My Lord, I vow to thee what is in my womb, to be devoted to thy service, so accept it from me. Surely thou, only thou art the hearing, the knowing." And these are the words that go from the mother into the child. So this is our gift to God.
Okay.
To want to give our lives and want to give what comes from our womb to Him. To want to give our lives to Him and to give what comes from us to Him.
All right.
I would like to add, also looking at it, you spoke spiritually, and then I'm gonna, speak medically. I think one of the first things that she should do after she prays and accepts it, then she should seek medical attention, set up her appointment for her initial prenatal visit at a primary care provider. um, so that those infant mortality rates can be decreased by getting proper prenatal care and her PCP.
Oh, okay. And that's interesting because I remember working in a clinic one time, and a young lady came in, and the nurse asked her, "Who would you like to see?" And she didn't know, she had a baby in her arms. She said, "Are you here to see the pediatrician?" And she didn't know what a pediatrician was. So how could you have a baby and not even know what a pediatrician is? So that tells me right then you didn't have the proper prenatal care for your child. It's interesting that you read that from the Holy Quran, for those who are not quite familiar with the Holy Quran, but you're reading about the birth of Jesus. And if you don't if you don't pray and give that child back to God, then there's another scripture in the Bible that said we are born into sin and then we are shaped into iniquity. Because when a mother refused to give the child to God and get into that spiritual prenatal care of praying, reading the Holy Quran, keeping her mind focused on the positive, then she actually making a child for Satan. And when you look at the world and look at our community, now we understand. I know people used to say, well, we're sinful by nature. We're not sinful by nature. The Bible said we're born into sin. Into sin, then we're shaped into iniquity. So the shaping actually starts in the womb of the woman?
Yes, it does. Yes, sir.
So once a woman recognizes she's pregnant, what are some of the things she should read? What should she watch on TV? Does that have a bearing on the formation of the child in the womb?
Everything that the mother does has a bearing on the child. Everything, as a matter of fact, the prenatal stage is one of the most important stages of the child and for the expectant mother. Because it's not only that she should have her supervised doctor, she should have a doctor, she should make sure that she's taking the vitamins or whatever that it is she's asked to take as far as to maintain the nourishment of the child. But her environment, her orientation of mind is important, because all of this is going into the child. The way the mother feels, everything is being added to the child. And it's really important that the mother is aware of this and that she's guarded and that she's protected. And when we look at prenatal care, pre means before, natal means birth, and care means protection, or serious attention, heed, caution. So it's very important. This is a very sensitive time for the mother. She should be protected. Her environment should be protected. Her food should be guarded. What she looks at, what she reads, everything. This is also a part of the prenatal care.
So she can't watch Jerry Springer while she's pregnant?
I would not advise it.
She couldn't listen to Lil Wayne and Two Live Crew?
I wouldn't advise it.
Sister Tamiko said she needs to be in a comfort zone.
Okay.
She needs to be safeguarded. She needs to, like Sister Tamiko said, her environment is very, very important. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us when sisters are with child, we actually are, we leave the mosque for a period of time so that we can protect the fruit of our body, because it's very important what goes into our ear, our minds, our hearts, and that goes into the baby as well. So it's important. Studying is important. The spiritual food is important. The physical food is very important. And one thing we have to understand is that the society and the population that we're dealing with, a lot of the young women are unaware, or there is a lack of, there's a learning needs. They have to be made aware, they have to be educated of the proper spiritual prenatal care that they need, not just the physical alone, because the mind and the body are very similar.
Okay. Now, man, that's so interesting, because now you're telling me that the male have a major role when you say care, protection, security. When we look at our young sisters, and I believe the first prayer they say is, "Oh my God, I hope I'm not pregnant." Then, but what does the man say when she said, I'm pregnant? Now, I can't say, that ain't mine. I'm going to get rid of it. His mind have to be in the right frame of thinking also.
Yes.
Do we say, I love you, I'm going to protect, I'm going to provide for you, I want you to come off your job, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that you're in a comfort zone, as you say? So it's twofold. It's not so much on a woman, but I guess the Holy Quran bears us witness when it said the man is the maintainer.
Yes.
And the minister asked us to look that word up, maintaining.
Yes.
And you said something very interesting, sister. Our audience may not understand. You said you have to leave the mosque for a period of time because the mosque is a place stress-filled because we're cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to say, if you're having a good time at church, then you're in the wrong church. Church and mosque is a place where we come and clean up, where sick people are at. Church and mosque is like a washing machine. It works on a law of agitation.
Yes.
So we come and we battle with the word of God, and we battle with one another to unite, to clean ourselves up. So if you're pregnant or expecting, you don't really need to be in an environment where it's stress-free. How does stress affect the wound of the woman and the child?
Stress, as my sister probably can attest, stress definitely affects the baby. Because that is like a product of the environment. If the mother who is expecting, if she works a job that's stress-filled, if she is in an abusive relationship, which our community is riddled with domestic violence among our young people, and of course teenage pregnancy. So if these young women are pregnant and they're experiencing domestic violence, they're stressed out on jobs, their mothers may be giving them, adding to that stress because they're pregnant and they don't want them to be pregnant. Mm-hmm. So all of this is taking place in the environment of the child, and it in turn causes those medical problems like the low birth weight, or the mother, she may not be eating properly, so the child can experience like heart disease. I mean, there are so many things that's connected to the environment for the child.
Now, sister, both of you are all our mothers. What is the proper thing to eat for good prenatal care?
Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that simple foods are best. When we are expecting, we should be extremely mindful of what we're eating. We should eat plenty of fruit. We should eat plenty of vegetables, and I mean not frozen but fresh
vegetables,
as much as possible. We should drink plenty of water. That is one of the things that I have found in our community. A lot of our young mothers don't even really drink a lot of water. You know, it's the Cokes and the Pepsis. So we should be drinking a lot of water. And we're taught to eat whole wheat bread, you know, preferably the bread that you make on your own.
That you learn how to make an MGT class.
That you learn how to make an MGT class, of course. So, and even though these things we're taught, it's very easy. It's easy when you want to put your mind in the best state for your child. You know, just stay away from Burger King. Just stay away from the Wendy's. Just try to choose a home cooked meal, you know, every once in a while, and that would be what I would say.
And I want to add, you said something that was very important just then when you said a home cooked meal. So that's another thing in MGT class that you learn is how to cook. You know, how to prepare the food properly so that you can feed yourself and your family.
Okay. Now I'd like to add something to that also. You know, I'm not in the MGT class, but they might think, well, I know how to cook. You all talking about the science of cooking. Mm-hmm. Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said our refrigerator or our cabinets is our medicine cabinets. Mm-hmm. So you are trying to teach young ladies the foods you eat to stay healthy, make your baby healthy, keep you out of the doctor's office. Mm-hmm. So you go into your prenatal care doctor, he says, oh, your blood pressure is fine, your skin look good. And you know, so many times our sisters during their pregnancy, they end up with high blood pressure,
Mhm.
diabetes. And a lot of these things are related to the diet and the stress and the environment coming down on them. I mean, the baby can't wait to get out of the womb, I know, in this community. I mean, when you look at the domestic violence, you look at the stress, you look at the diet, and then we're wondering why, come Head Start, kindergarten, we're having children a problem with these babies. This started in the womb, am I right?
Yes, it does. Yes, sir.
So if that started in the womb, I can make a genius from the womb also, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when we talk about this spiritual diet, what else can young ladies do when it comes to education, when it comes to environment, when it comes to watching TV, when it comes to communicating with one another, to keep that womb pure and divine?
Well, Brother James, it is very difficult in this society to do that because the media rules the living room. You know, you got your video games, you got soap operas, you got all these different kinds of media and all these different kinds of distractions that our young people love. So when we're talking about the young women who are pregnant, they're drawn to this. You know, they can't wait to get to their soap operas, but they don't understand that they're developing a life. So I would say the spiritual care, not to necessarily put it in a biblical sense where the sister got to sit and just be humming the Psalms all day. You know, but it's important that she has the proper orientation of mind, have a positive spirit, you know, have a good attitude. It's really important that the expectant mother has this, because we all probably can bear witness to a mother, who we encounter her and her baby is really mean. And we're like, wow, that's a mean baby. And then the mother said, oh, I was mean when I was pregnant, you know, or, you know, we may encounter a baby and they're like, oh, she's so happy. And it's like, you know, I was really happy when I was pregnant and I was experiencing this. So it really makes a difference, the orientation of mind. Instead of spirit, I'll just say orientation of mind.
Sister Rose,
Yes, sir.
you know, I work in the medical field. Is it true how I handle that life in my womb determine how many times I'm going to come to the emergency room for a fever, runny nose, colds?
Yes, and it's good that you mentioned that, because I wanted to add to what Sister Miko said. I just wanted to quote L. Ron Hubbard.
Mhm.
He said that the healthiest babies or the healthiest children come from happy mothers. And I think it's very important how the woman is protected. She should be very particular about the type of